What if the one thing you threw away was the only thing that could save you? What if the most valuable treasure in a city of sin was not kept in a vault, but walked the streets in worn-out shoes, with a heart more pure than any diamond? A monster found out when a homeless woman returned his lost briefcase, and what was inside had the power to destroy his empire or rebuild his soul. Damien Blackwood stands before a wall of glass, a silhouette carved from obsidian and ice against the glittering sprawl of the city below. It is his city. Every pulsating light, every roaring engine, every secret whispered in the velvet dark of a private club pays tribute to him. He is not a king in name, but his power is more absolute than any monarch's. He is the architect of ruin, the silent partner in every skyscraper, the unseen hand that collects debts written in blood and fear. His suit is bespoke, a fortress of Italian wool, the color of a midnight sky, clinging to a frame built for violence. His eyes, the color of a stormy sea, survey his domain with a chilling lack of emotion. He feels nothing for the millions of lives teeming below. They are assets or liabilities, cogs in a machine he designed and mastered. Behind him, a man built like a granite monument stands in perfect stillness. Silas, his shadow, his enforcer, a man of few words and absolute loyalty. His presence is as constant as the expensive watch on Damien's wrist, a silent promise of swift and brutal consequences for any who dare to cross them. Tonight is the annual Meridian Gala, a disgusting parade of false smiles and gilded sycophants. Damien despises it, but his attendance is a necessity, a performance of legitimacy for the world he manipulates from the shadows. His fiancée, Isabel Lancaster, will be there, a beautiful and cruel accessory he acquired for strategic purposes. She is a Lancaster, a name that still carries weight in the city's old money circles, a veneer of respectability for his less savory enterprises. He feels nothing for her either. She is another asset, and a depreciating one at that. A single photograph sits on his vast, empty desk. It is old, the edges softened with time. A woman with kind eyes, his mother, before the fog rolled in and stole her from him. Eleanor Blackwood. She is his only vulnerability, the one pure element in a life of calculated corruption, the sacred relic he keeps hidden away in a countryside fortress, shielded from the rot of his world. He turns from the window, his face an unreadable mask. "It is time," Damien says, his voice low and devoid of warmth. Silas nods, a barely perceptible motion, and moves to retrieve a sleek leather briefcase from the desk. It contains nothing of monetary value. No cash, no bonds, no secrets that could bring him down. It contains architectural blueprints for a new children's hospital wing, a project he is funding anonymously. And beneath them, a small velvet pouch holding a handful of worn sea glass, collected with his mother on a beach long ago, in another lifetime. It is a weakness he allows himself, a private, foolish sentiment. He takes the case from Silas, his grip firm. The city awaits its king. Down below, in the cold, unforgiving canyons between those glittering towers, Elara Vance shivers. The wind whips through the alley she calls a temporary home, carrying the scent of rain and despair. She is invisible, a ghost haunting the periphery of a world that discarded her long ago. Her clothes are thin. Her stomach is a hollow ache, and her shoes have more holes than soul. Her only possession of value is a faded photograph clutched in her hand, a smiling couple, her parents, taken before the accident that orphaned her and the subsequent sickness that consumed all her savings, leaving her with nothing. They had taught her kindness, integrity, morality. These are currencies with no value on these streets. Here, survival is the only virtue. Yet, she holds on to their lessons like a shield. She has not stolen. She has not cheated. She has begged. She has collected cans. She has done whatever she can to get by without sacrificing the core of who she is. She is an unbreakable dove in a city of wolves. Tonight, the hunger is a physical pain, a gnawing beast inside her. She watches the parade of gleaming cars pulling up to the Grand Majestic Hotel across the street, spilling out men in sharp suits and women in gowns that shimmer like constellations. The waste from a single one of their plates could feed her for a week. The bitterness is a dangerous taste in her mouth, but she swallows it down. Despair is a luxury she cannot afford. Hope is all she has left. A long black sedan, sleeker and more menacing than the others, pulls to a stop. The air around it seems to crackle with an unseen energy. A mountain of a man in a dark suit emerges from the passenger side, scanning the crowd with predatory eyes. Then the back door opens. Damien Blackwood steps out. Alara doesn't know his name, but she feels his presence like a drop in barometric pressure. He radiates a power so immense, it is almost a physical force, a cold, dark gravity that pulls all attention toward him. Suddenly, chaos erupts. A swarm of aggressive paparazzi, breaking through the velvet ropes, surges forward, flashes blinding the night. Simultaneously, a rival's car screeches to a halt nearby, men spilling out, shouting taunts, a pathetic display of dominance meant to provoke a public scene. Silas and the other security men move instantly, forming an impenetrable wall around Damien. They are a seamless unit of controlled violence, pushing the crowd back, their movements economical and deadly. In the sudden, violent shove of bodies, the leather briefcase is knocked from Damien's hand. It slides across the wet pavement, coming to a stop just a few feet from the mouth of Alara's alley. Damien is bundled into the hotel lobby, his face a mask of cold fury. Silas follows, his focus entirely on his principal, assuming one of the other guards has the case. But they do not. In the confusion, in the swift, professional execution of protecting the man himself, the object is forgotten. The street clears as quickly as the chaos began. The paparazzi are shoved away, the rivals retreat, their point having been made. And the briefcase lies there, alone, forgotten. Alara's heart hammers against her ribs. She saw it fall. She saw the man it belongs to, a man who looks like he owns the world. What could be inside? Money, jewels, secrets worth a fortune. Everything she needs is right there, a few feet away, a gift from a chaotic moment. One step, and her hunger could end. Her cold could end. Her invisibility could end. She takes a hesitant step out of the alley. The leather gleams under the streetlights. A dark promise. Her hand trembles as she reaches for it. Her mind screams at her. Take it. Run. Disappear. But then she sees her mother's face in her mind's eye. Hears her father's voice. Integrity is what you do when no one is watching, Alara. Her fingers brush against the cool leather, and the temptation is a physical wave of nausea. But the person she would become if she took it is not someone she could live with. She straightens her spine. Her decision is made. She picks up the heavy briefcase, her thin arms straining slightly. She turns and walks toward the blindingly bright entrance of the Grand Majestic Hotel. The doorman, a man in a ridiculously ornate uniform, sees her coming. He sees her matted hair, her dirty clothes, her hollow cheeks. His face contorts into a sneer of disgust. We don't have anything for you here. Be on your way. Alara holds up the briefcase. I am not here to beg. A man dropped this. I need to return it to him. The doorman's eyes widen slightly at the sight of the expensive case, then narrow again at her. Give it to me. I will see that it is returned. Alara clutches it tighter. She does not trust this man's dismissive eyes. She trusts no one but herself to do the right thing. No, I will give it to him myself. His name is Blackwood, she says, guessing from a shouted name she overheard in the chaos. The doorman's condescending demeanor evaporates. replaced by a flicker of fear. The name Blackwood carries that kind of power. He hesitates, then speaks into a device on his wrist. We have a situation at the main entrance. Moments later, 2 more security guards appear. They are less ornate, more functional, their suits bulging in the right places. They look at Alara like she is a piece of trash that has blown in from the street. But they see the briefcase. They flank her, their presence oppressive, and escort her through a service entrance, away from the prying eyes of the wealthy guests. The sudden warmth of the hotel is a shock to her cold skin. The air smells of flowers and money. It is another world, one she is only allowed to glimpse through a servant's door. They walk down a long, sterile corridor. Up ahead, through a set of swinging doors, she can hear the muffled sound of an orchestra and the din of 100 conversations. As they approach, a door to a small office opens, and a man in a tuxedo steps out. He is hotel management, his face a mask of polite panic. "You have the item." Before Alara can answer, a crash and a venomous voice cut through the air from the ballroom beyond. The swinging doors burst open. A young busboy, no older than 17, stumbles backward, terror on his face. Following him is a woman of impossible beauty and cruelty. Isabel Lancaster. Her dress is a column of liquid silver, and her diamonds glitter like shards of ice. There is a small dark stain of spilled water on her gown. "You clumsy little animal," she hisses, her voice a whip-crack in the relative quiet of the corridor. "Do you have any idea how much this dress costs? It is more than your pathetic life is worth." The boy is trembling, tears welling in his eyes. "I am so sorry, Miss Lancaster. It was an accident. I tripped." "An accident? Your incompetence is not an accident. It is a choice." She sneers, advancing on him. "You should be fired. Better yet, you should be billed for the damages. Your entire family will be in debt for generations." The boy flinches as if struck. The cruelty is so naked, so disproportionate, it makes Alara's blood run cold. She sees herself in that boy, powerless, terrified, at the mercy of a world that does not care. And something inside her, the steel core she did not know she possessed, ignites. Forgetting her own fear, her own precarious situation, she takes a step forward. "He said he was sorry." Alara's voice is quiet, but it cuts through the tension like a blade. "It was an accident." Isabel's head snaps toward her. Her perfectly sculpted face twists into a mask of pure, unadulterated revulsion as she takes in Alara's appearance. "And who invited this street filth to the party?" she asks, her voice dripping with venom. "Did you crawl out of a sewer to defend your kind?" The insult glances off Alara. She has heard worse. She holds Isabel's furious gaze. "He is a child, and you are a bully." A collective gasp comes from the hotel staff huddled nearby. No one speaks to Isabel Lancaster like that. Isabel's face flushes a dangerous shade of red. She raises a hand, nails like talons, to strike Alara. "Why, you little—" "Isabel!" The voice is not loud, but it freezes the very air in the corridor. It is a voice of absolute command. Damien Blackwood stands at the end of the hall, Silas a step behind him. He had been alerted that a woman had found his briefcase. He had come to retrieve it, annoyed at the incompetence of his men. But he had arrived just in time to witness the entire scene. He saw his fiancée's disgusting cruelty, and he saw the homeless girl, frail and dirty, stand up to her without a tremor of fear. He saw her defend the weak. He saw her courage. Isabel freezes, her hand still raised. A sickly, sweet smile plasters itself onto her face. "Damien, darling, I was just dealing with this interruption. This vagrant and this incompetent staff member." "I saw what you were dealing with," Damien says, his voice flat and cold as a tombstone. He walks forward, his eyes never leaving Isabel. He ignores Ilara, ignores the briefcase, ignores everyone but the woman who wears his ring. He stops directly in front of her. The air is thick with dread. "You are an embarrassment," he says, the words precise and devastating. Isabel's smile falters. "Darling, what are you talking about?" "We are finished," Damien states. It is not a suggestion. It is a decree. He reaches out, takes her hand, and coolly slides the enormous diamond ring from her finger. He does not look at it. He lets it drop to the floor, where it clatters with a sound of finality. "Your father's credit lines will be frozen by morning," he continues, his voice a merciless whisper. "The invitations to every board you sit on will be rescinded. The life you know is over." Isabel's face drains of all color. The mask of beauty cracks, revealing the terrified, insecure creature beneath. "Damien, you can't do this. Over this nothing," she shrieks, gesturing wildly at Ilara. "I can," he says. "And I have." He turns his back on her, a dismissal more profound than any blow. "Silas, see that Miss Lancaster finds her own way home." Silas moves, his large frame blocking a now sobbing Isabel from Damien's sight. The public execution is complete. Damien finally turns his attention to Ilara. His stormy eyes rake over her, from her worn-out shoes to her defiant face. He sees the dirt, the hunger, the desperation. But he sees the integrity more clearly. He gestures to the briefcase she is still clutching. "You returned it." Ilara nods, her throat suddenly dry. "It is not mine. You could have sold it. You could have run." "I could have," she agrees, her voice barely a whisper. "Why did you not?" he asks, his gaze intense, searching. He is testing her, trying to understand this anomaly. "Because it would have been wrong," she says simply, as if it is the most obvious answer in the world. A strange silence hangs between them. In his world, everyone has a price. Every action is a transaction. This woman, who has nothing, just acted against her own self-interest for a principle. He does not understand it, and it fascinates him. He notices a single tear tracing a clean path through the grime on her cheek, a tear not of fear for herself, but of empathy for the boy. Without thinking, in a gesture so uncharacteristic it shocks even himself, he reaches out and brushes it away with his thumb. His touch is surprisingly gentle. Ilara flinches, her skin buzzing at the contact. No one has touched her with kindness in years. He pulls his hand back as if burned, his mask of cold indifference snapping back into place. He takes the briefcase from her. "What is your name?" "Ilara. Ilara Vance." He nods slowly. "You are unemployed," he states. "Yes." "You are homeless." "Yes." He looks at her, a strange, calculating light in his eyes. An idea is forming, a solution to two of his problems at once. The problem of this strange, compelling woman, and the problem of his mother. The string of nurses and caretakers he has hired have all failed. They were too cold, too impatient, or too obviously sniffing around for a piece of the Blackwood fortune. His mother, lost in the fog of her dementia, could always sense their insincerity. She needed kindness. She needed purity. She needed someone like Ilara. "I have a job for you," he says, the words hanging in the air like a sentence. Ilara stares at him, confused. "A job? It is not a request. It is an offer you will not refuse," he clarifies. "You will be a caretaker for a member of my family." He names a salary that makes her head spin, a number so vast it sounds like a fiction. "You will be given housing, food, clothing. All your needs will be met. Your old life is over." It sounds too good to be true. It sounds like a trap. "Why?" she asks, suspicion lacing her voice. "Why me?" "Because you are honest," he says, as if this explains everything. and because I have decided it. He sees the hesitation in her eyes, the fear of the gilded cage he is offering. He leans in closer, his voice dropping to a low, possessive murmur that sends a shiver down her spine. There is a condition, he adds. You will live in my home. You will not leave without my permission. You will speak to no one of my affairs. From this moment on, you belong to me. It is a contract of enslavement, wrapped in the language of salvation. She has no choice. Her life on the street is a slow death. This is a chance, however dangerous, to live. She looks at the powerful, ruthless man before her, a man who destroyed a woman's life with a few words and did not even blink. She should be terrified. And she is. But she also sees, for a fleeting moment, a flicker of something else in his stormy eyes, a deep, profound loneliness that mirrors her own. She gives a single sharp nod. I accept. Damien turns to the trembling hotel manager. Have one of your staff take her to the boutique in the lobby. Get her whatever she needs. Put it on my account. He then looks at Silas. Have a car ready. We are going to the estate. Alara is whisked away, her head reeling. An hour later, she is transformed. The grime is gone, washed away in a luxurious shower. Her rags are replaced with simple, elegant clothes of soft cashmere and wool. She looks in the mirror and barely recognizes the woman staring back. The hollows in her cheeks are still there, but her eyes, clear and bright, hold a new, uncertain light. She is brought back to the service corridor, where Damien waits, impatient. He looks at her, a long, appraising glance. He gives a curt nod of approval, then turns and walks away, expecting her to follow. She does. They exit through a private garage, bypassing the glamour of the lobby. A black car waits, engine purring. Silas holds the door open. Alara slides into the plush leather interior. The car smells of wealth and power. Damien gets in beside her, the space suddenly shrinking. His presence is overwhelming. They drive in silence, the city lights blurring into streaks of neon and gold. They leave the city behind, heading north, where the buildings give way to dark, winding country roads. After an hour, they turn onto a private drive, marked by a formidable set of iron gates that swing open without a sound. The car proceeds down a long, tree-lined avenue before a house emerges from the darkness. It is not a house. It is a fortress, a modern monolith of glass, steel, and dark stone. It looms against the night sky, imposing and cold. It is a testament to wealth and paranoia, beautiful in its severity, but utterly devoid of warmth. This is the gilded cage. The car stops, and Silas opens her door. Alara steps out, her new shoes silent on the gravel. She looks up at the immense structure, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. Damien comes to stand beside her. "Welcome to Blackwood Manor," he says, his voice flat. "Your new home." He leads her inside. The interior is as cold and impersonal as the exterior. Vast open spaces. Minimalist furniture in shades of black, white, and grey. Art on the walls that is challenging and intellectual, but not beautiful. It is a museum, not a home. A place designed to be admired, not lived in. A small, uniformed staff appears as if from nowhere, their faces impassive. Damien dismisses them with a wave of his hand. "The East Wing is mine. The West Wing will be yours," he informs her, his tone that of a general briefing a soldier. "The person you will be caring for is there." He leads her through silent, echoing halls to the West Wing. Here, the atmosphere changes slightly. The decor is softer, the lights warmer. There are glimpses of a life once lived, a faded armchair, a shelf of well-loved books. He stops before a closed door. "My mother," he says, and for the first time, a crack appears in his iron composure, a flicker of raw vulnerability. Her name is Eleanor. She has advanced dementia. The confession hangs in the air, heavy and painful. She can be difficult. The disease makes her confused, sometimes fearful. The nurses I hired were not suitable. He cannot bring himself to say they were cruel, or that they saw his mother as a task, not a person. She needs patience. She needs kindness. He looks at Alara, his eyes searching hers, as if trying to see into her soul. I saw you at the hotel. You have that, he says, the admission costing him. He opens the door. The room is a comfortable suite, with a large window overlooking a dark garden. An elderly woman with beautiful silver hair sits in a chair by the window, humming a tuneless melody. She has the same stormy sea-colored eyes as her son, but hers are clouded with confusion. She looks up as they enter, a flicker of fear in her expression. Daniel, is that you? She asks, her voice frail. The other lady was mean to me. Damien's jaw tightens. He walks to her side, his movements surprisingly gentle. He kneels before her, taking her fragile hand in his. I am here, Mother. The other lady is gone. In this moment, he is not the architect of ruin. He is just a son, helpless against the slow decay of the person he loves most in the world. Ilara's heart aches at the sight. She sees the man beneath the monster. Eleanor's gaze drifts to Ilara, standing nervously in the doorway. Who is that, Daniel? She is very pretty. Damien looks over his shoulder at Ilara. This is Ilara, Mother. She is going to be staying with us for a while. Ilara finds her voice. She walks slowly into the room, kneeling beside Damien so she is at Eleanor's eye level. She offers a small, gentle smile. It is a pleasure to meet you, Eleanor. Eleanor studies her face, her cloudy eyes searching. Then, a slow, beautiful smile spreads across her own face. You have kind eyes, she says, her voice a soft whisper, like the sea glass my Daniel used to find for me. Damien freezes. He looks from his mother to Ilara, a storm of unreadable emotions swirling in his eyes. The proving ground has begun. The days that follow fall into a strange, quiet rhythm. Ilara dedicates herself to Eleanor. She does not treat her like a patient, but like a person. She listens to her fragmented stories of a life long past, piecing together the woman she once was. She brushes her hair, reads her favorite poems, and walks with her in the walled garden, her arm a steady support. She discovers that Eleanor loves the scent of lavender and the sound of classical music. She fills the West Wing with both. Under her care, Eleanor blossoms. The fear in her eyes recedes, replaced by a placid contentment. She has fewer bad days, fewer moments of panicked confusion. She grows to adore Ilara, following her like a child, her hand often seeking Ilara's for reassurance. Damien watches from a distance. He observes their interactions on the security monitors that cover every inch of his estate. He sees Ilara's unwavering patience. He sees her genuine affection. He sees the way his mother smiles now, a real smile he has not seen in years. He feels a strange, unfamiliar emotion stirring in the barren landscape of his chest. It feels dangerously like gratitude. Sometimes their paths cross in the vast, empty halls. They exchange few words. He asks for a report on his mother. She gives him a concise, professional update. But the air between them is thick with unspoken things. He finds himself looking for her, his eyes drawn to her quiet grace. He is fascinated by her resilience, by the unbreakable moral compass that guides her. She is surrounded by unimaginable wealth, yet she asks for nothing. She wears the simple clothes she was given, eats the food prepared for her, and dedicates every moment to his mother. She is an enigma in his world of greed and ambition. One evening, he finds her in the library, a room she has slowly been bringing to life. She is reading to Eleanor from a worn copy of The Secret Garden. Eleanor is asleep in her armchair, a peaceful smile on her face. Elara's voice is soft, a soothing melody in the quiet room. She does not notice him standing in the doorway, watching. He sees the firelight dance on her hair, the gentle curve of her smile as she reads. And for the first time in a very long time, Damien Blackwood feels a tremor of something other than anger or control. It feels like peace. He backs away silently, retreating to the shadows of his own wing, unsettled by the foreign emotion. This woman is a danger to his carefully constructed emptiness. She is a light in his darkness, and he does not know if he wants to extinguish it or be consumed by it. The quiet rhythm is shattered 1 week later. It happens without warning, a brutal eruption of violence that rips through the sterile peace of the manor. Damien is in his office, reviewing encrypted shipping manifest. Silas stands at his usual post by the door. Elara is helping Eleanor get ready for bed in the west wing. The first sign is a flicker of the lights, followed by a sudden, complete blackout. The backup generators should have kicked in instantly. They do not. Damien is on his feet in a second, senses screaming. "Perimeter breach," Silas says, his voice grim. On a small battery-powered monitor, the security feeds are dead. All of them. This is not a random power failure. This is a professional, coordinated attack. An inside job. Someone gave them the codes, the schematics. The thought is a shard of ice in his gut. Betrayal. The sound of shattering glass echoes from the lower level, followed by the distinct, terrifying chatter of automatic gunfire. They are already inside. Silas draws his weapon, a suppressed pistol appearing in his hand as if by magic. "The panic room," Silas says, moving toward a hidden panel in the wall. "No!" Damien snarls, his mind racing. His eyes are wild, his cold facade vaporized by a sudden, primal fear. "Elara, my mother." The panic room is in his wing. They are in the west wing, on the other side of the house, completely exposed. He will not cower in a steel box while they are unprotected. He pulls a handgun from a locked drawer in his desk, the cold metal a familiar comfort. "We go to them," he commands, his voice a low growl. They move out into the darkened hallway, every shadow a potential threat. The sounds of the assault grow louder, men shouting, furniture crashing, more gunfire. His highly paid, expertly trained security team is being dismantled. This is the work of the Vettori family, his most bitter rivals. He had crippled their operations last month. This is their answer, and someone on his own payroll let them in the front door. In the west wing, Elara's blood has turned to ice. At the sound of the first gunshot, she reacted on pure instinct. She pulled a terrified Eleanor from her bed and guided her into the large walk-in closet. "We are going to play a game, Eleanor," she whispered, her voice miraculously steady despite the frantic pounding of her heart. "A hiding game. We have to be very, very quiet." Eleanor, sensing the terror in the air, begins to whimper. Heavy footsteps thunder down the hallway outside their room. The door bursts open, splintering the frame. 2 men, dressed in black tactical gear, their faces obscured by masks, storm into the room. "Find the old woman!" one of them barks. "And the girl. Vettori wants them both as leverage." Elara presses a hand over Eleanor's mouth, her body shielding the frail woman. They tear the room apart, their movements brutal and efficient. One of them yanks open the closet door. The flashlight beam hits Elara's face, blinding her. "Got them!" The man grunts. He grabs Elara's arm, his grip like a steel vice, and yanks her out of the closet. Eleanor screams, a thin, terrified sound. The other man pulls her out, his touch rough. "Let her go!" Elara shouts, struggling against the man's grip. "She is a sick old woman." The man laughs, a cruel, ugly sound. Blackwood should have thought of that before he messed with our family. He raises his hand to backhand her, but the blow never lands. A silenced gunshot makes a soft foot sound, and a perfect dark hole appears in the center of the man's forehead. He collapses without a sound. The second man spins around, raising his weapon, but he is too slow. Silas is a blur of motion, disarming him with brutal efficiency before putting 2 rounds into his chest. Damien stands in the doorway, a phantom of vengeance, his gun still raised, smoke curling from the barrel. His eyes are not the color of a stormy sea anymore. They are the storm itself. A tempest of pure, murderous rage. But when his gaze falls on Ilara, on the red marks forming on her arm where the man had grabbed her, the rage is eclipsed by something else. Panic, undiluted, terrifying panic, fine. The thought of them getting to her, of hurting her, is a physical blow, stealing the air from his lungs. He is across the room in 3 long strides. He does not check on his mother. He does not look at the dead men on the floor. He looks only at her. "Are you hurt?" he asks, his voice raw, unrecognizable. He reaches out, his hand hovering over her arm, afraid to touch her, as if she might break. "I am fine," she breathes, shaking. "Eleanor." "She is fine," Silas reports, already helping the terrified old woman back into her chair. More footsteps are approaching. "They are coming," Silas warns. Damien's focus snaps back to the threat. His cold mask returns, but it is different now. It is cracked. "Stay here. Barricade the door. Do not open it for anyone but me," he orders Ilara. He turns to leave, but Ilara's hand darts out, grabbing his sleeve. "Be careful," she whispers. Their eyes lock for a fraction of a second. In that moment, the world of contracts and employment falls away. There is only a man and a woman, and a shared moment of terror and concern. He gives a sharp, almost imperceptible nod. Then he and Silas melt back into the shadows of the war zone his home has become. For the next hour, the manor is a symphony of violence. Damien and Silas move through the house like ghosts, silent and lethal, eliminating the intruders one by one. It is a brutal, bloody purge, but there are too many of them. They are being pushed back toward the central staircase. They are cornered. Suddenly, a new sound cuts through the chaos. A high-pitched, piercing fire alarm. It blares through the house, disorienting and deafening. The emergency sprinklers kick in, showering everything in a downpour of cold water. The remaining intruders, their communication now hampered, their vision obscured, are thrown into confusion. It is the opening Damien needed. He and Silas press the advantage, finishing the last of the attackers in a swift, merciless flurry of violence. Silence falls, broken only by the hiss of the sprinklers and the incessant shriek of the alarm. Damien stands in the center of his grand foyer, soaked to the bone, surrounded by bodies. His adrenaline is still singing, but one thought cuts through it all. Ilara, the alarm, the sprinklers. It was a diversion, a perfect, brilliant diversion. He sprints back toward the west wing, his heart hammering in his chest for a reason that has nothing to do with the fight. He throws open the door to his mother's room. It is empty. The barricade is gone. A cold dread, worse than anything he felt during the attack, seizes him. He turns, ready to tear the world apart to find her. And then he sees her. She is standing at the end of the hall, next to a manual fire alarm pull station. Her hand is still on the lever. She is drenched, her simple clothes clinging to her hair plastered to her face. She looks small and fragile and more courageous than any man he has ever known. She saw his struggle on a security monitor that had flickered back to life. She had acted. She had saved him. He walks toward her, his steps unsteady. He does not stop until he is standing directly in front of her. The water drips from his hair onto her face. The alarm still blares. The world is chaos and blood and water, and in the center of it all, there is only her. His cold facade, his control, his entire world shatters into a million pieces. He reaches out, his hands framing her face, his thumbs tracing the curve of her jaw. "I thought I lost you," he breathes, the words torn from the deepest, most hidden part of his soul. And then he kisses her. It is not a gentle kiss. It is a desperate, possessive, life-affirming act. It is the kiss of a man who has stared into the abyss and seen the one thing he cannot bear to lose. It is rage and relief and a terrifying, dawning love, all crashing together. Alara's mind goes blank. She kisses him back, her hands coming up to grip his soaked suit jacket. She clings to him, the only solid thing in a world that has just been torn apart. It is a confession without words, a vow made in the middle of a battlefield. When he finally breaks the kiss, he rests his forehead against hers, his breathing ragged. "You are mine," he whispers, a vow of possession that sounds nothing like the one he made before. This is not about a contract. This is about his soul. "You are mine to protect. If anyone ever touches you again, I will burn this city to the ground." The original arrangement, the transactional bond, is incinerated in the heat of that moment. He looks at her, truly looks at her, and sees his future. "The contract is void," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "You are not my employee, Alara. You are not my mother's caretaker." He pauses, searching for the right words, words he has never used. "You are everything." The vulnerability in his voice is more shocking than the violence that preceded it. Before she can respond, Silas appears, his face grim. "The traitor," he says, holding up a shattered phone he recovered from one of the bodies. The logs show the breach codes came from an internal device. It was Marco Vettori, not one of the rival family. Marco, his second in command, his friend since childhood, the man he trusted like a brother. The betrayal is a fresh, deep wound. Damien's expression transforms. The nascent warmth in his eyes is extinguished, replaced by a glacial fury that is terrifying to behold. He straightens up, pulling away from Alara, the monster reasserting control. But this time, the monster has something to protect. "Find him," Damien orders, his voice dropping to a lethal calm. "Bring him to the warehouse, and get a cleanup crew here. I want this house spotless by dawn. I do not want my mother, or Alara, to see any of this." He is already building the walls back up, protecting them from the darkness he is about to unleash upon his city. He turns to Alara, his eyes softening for just a fraction of a second. "Stay with my mother. You are safe now. I promise." Then he is gone, a whirlwind of vengeful purpose, Silas at his heels. The purge begins. For the next 48 hours, Damien Blackwood reminds the underworld why he is its king. His retribution is not just ruthless, it is biblical. He moves with a speed and ferocity that stuns his enemies. The Vettori family, emboldened by their perceived success, is systematically dismantled. Their safe houses are not safe. Their businesses burn. Their lieutenants disappear from the face of the earth. Damien does not just cut the head off the snake, he grinds the entire serpent into dust. The climax of his vengeance takes place in a cold, damp warehouse by the docks. Marco, his former friend, is chained to a chair in the center of the vast, empty space. He is bruised and broken, but his eyes still hold a defiant arrogance. "You should have just taken the money, Damien," Marco spits, blood staining his teeth. "You went soft. That girl, your mother, they made you weak." Damien circles him slowly, his face an unreadable mask of calm. "You mistake kindness for weakness. Damien says, his voice deceptively mild. You mistake love for a liability. He stops in front of Marco. You thought you were taking my leverage, Damien continues, leaning in close. But you were not. You were threatening my reason for living. And for that, there is no forgiveness. He looks at Marco, the boy he grew up with, the man he called brother. He feels a pang of something, a ghost of a past friendship. Then he thinks of Alara, of the fear in her eyes, of the bruise on her arm. And the ghost vanishes. You know, Damien says, a cold, ironic wit touching his lips for a moment. My father always told me to take out the trash. I am just sorry it took me so long to see you were rotting in my own house. He turns and walks away, not looking back. He does not need to. Silas steps forward, and the warehouse falls silent. 3 months pass. The dust settles. The city holds its breath, aware that the balance of power has irrevocably shifted. Damien Blackwood's reign is now absolute, unquestioned. But the man himself has changed. The fortress of Blackwood Manor is slowly, painstakingly, becoming a home. Alara has filled it with life. There are flowers in the vases, warm throws on the minimalist sofas, and the sound of music often drifts through the once silent halls. Eleanor is thriving, her world now a safe, happy place bounded by Alara's kindness. The relationship between Damien and Alara has deepened into a quiet, powerful intimacy. He is still the architect of ruin to the outside world, a man to be feared. But within the walls of his home, he is different. He is tender. He is attentive. He seeks her out, not just to watch her, but to be with her. They spend evenings in the library, not speaking, but simply existing in the same space, the silence comfortable and profound. He learns to let go of his obsessive control, to trust in the light she has brought into his life. He finds himself smiling, a real unforced smile when he watches her laughing with his mother. He is a man finding his humanity, piece by painful piece. Alara, in turn, has transformed from a timid survivor into a confident, radiant woman. She is no longer the unbreakable dove. She is the queen of this strange, dark kingdom, ruling not with fear, but with grace and compassion. She understands the darkness in Damien, the violence he is capable of. She does not condone it, but she understands the world he lives in, and she loves the man he is trying to become for her. The culmination of their new reign comes one evening. The Meridian Gala is being held again, the same event where their worlds first collided. I want you to come with me, Damien says to her. He is not asking. But it is not an order either. It is a request from a partner. She sees the importance in his eyes. This is their public reveal. This is the moment he shows the world that the maid has become his queen. I will, she says, her voice firm and clear. That night, she descends the grand staircase of the manor. She is wearing a gown of deep sapphire blue that matches the depths of her eyes. It is elegant, powerful, and understated. Diamonds glitter at her throat, not the icy shards Isabel once wore, but a warm, brilliant fire. She radiates a confidence that comes from knowing her own worth, a power that has nothing to do with money or status. Damien is waiting at the bottom of the stairs. He is in a bespoke tuxedo, the very picture of wealth and power. But as he looks at her, his expression is one of pure, unadulterated adoration. He takes her hand. You are beautiful, he murmurs, his thumb stroking the back of her hand. You are not so bad yourself, she replies, a playful light in her eyes. They arrive at the Grand Majestic Hotel. The same doorman from that fateful night is there. He sees them exit the car, and his eyes widen in shock and dawning terror. as he recognizes Ilara. He bows so low, his forehead nearly touches his knees. Ilara says nothing. She simply gives him a small, polite nod as they pass, an act of grace he does not deserve. They enter the ballroom and a hush falls over the crowd. All eyes turn to them. They see Damien Blackwood, the undisputed king of the city, and on his arm they see a stunning, mysterious woman they have never seen before. They see the way he looks at her, with a devotion and possessiveness that is unmistakable. They see the quiet power she wields, the way she stands as his equal. Whispers ripple through the room. Who is she? Where did she come from? They are a united front, a power couple forged in fire and blood. Later in the evening, as Damien is cornered by a fawning politician, Ilara steps away for a moment of quiet. She sees a young waitress, her hands trembling, accidentally drop a tray of glasses, which shatter on the floor. The hotel manager begins to descend upon the girl, his face a thundercloud. Ilara remembers the busboy. She remembers her own fear. She steps forward, placing a gentle hand on the manager's arm, stopping him in his tracks. "It is all right," she says, her voice calm and kind. "It was just an accident." She turns to the terrified waitress, who is on the verge of tears. Ilara kneels down, ignoring her designer gown, and helps the young woman pick up the larger pieces of glass. "Do not worry," Ilara says softly, looking the girl in the eyes. "Everyone makes mistakes. It does not define you. She has retained her soul. Her elevation to queen has not corrupted her virtue. It has only given her a larger platform for her kindness." Damien, having extricated himself from the conversation, has watched the entire exchange from across the room. The love he feels for her in that moment is so immense, so overwhelming, it feels like it might break him open. He walks to her side as she stands up. He takes her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers. He leans down and whispers in her ear, "Let us go home." The final scene is not one of grandeur or power. It is one of quiet, domestic peace. Weeks later, on a sunny afternoon, Damien is sitting on a bench in the walled garden. He is not wearing a suit. He is in a simple sweater, the sleeves pushed up his forearms. The monster is gone. The king is at rest. A few feet away, Ilara is helping Eleanor plant flowers in a small patch of earth. Eleanor is laughing, a genuine, happy sound, as she pats dirt around a small rosebush. Ilara looks up and catches Damien's eye. She smiles, a smile of pure love and contentment. He smiles back. In this garden, surrounded by the two women who rebuilt his world, the architect of ruin has finally found something to build instead of destroy. He has found his sanctuary. He has found his family. The homeless woman who returned his briefcase did not know what was inside. But what she carried inside herself, her courage, her integrity, her kindness, was the one treasure his vast fortune could never buy, and the only thing that could ever truly save his soul. His reign over the city was absolute, but his willing surrender to her was complete. The king had found his queen, and in her, he had finally found his home.